Ladies and gentlemen, now we start to joint press conference.
Dear Mr. President, dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad to host today President Şarl Michel. We had a very productive discussions, long discussions about our cooperation, about our plans, about our achievements, and I think the visit of President Michel to Azerbaijan is a good indication of our partnership. For us, European Union is a close partner. We work for many years in different areas. Agenda is very broad, and a strong political context which we have, of course, create a very good foundation for diversification of our cooperation. European Union is our main trading partner. Almost 40% of our trade is a trade with European Union. And last year's trade turnover was almost 9.5 billion US dollars, and 6.8 billion US dollars is Azerbaijani export to EU member states. More than 1,700 companies from member states work in Azerbaijan, and this also demonstrates the scope of our economic activity. We are very active in bilateral ties with member states. With 9 member states of EU, Azerbaijan signed or adopted documents on strategic partnership. So it's 1/3 of EU member states consider Azerbaijan as a strategic partner. And I think it's a very big achievement of our government. And this also creates additional opportunities for cooperation. Important part on our agenda, of course, is related to energy security. And here we can only report about great achievements, I would say historical achievements, especially the completion of the Southern Gas Corridor project at the last day of the last year is a really event of historical importance. And Trans-Adriatic pipeline, which was the last, the 4th segment of Southern Gas Corridor, already in operation. And since January 1st until today, already more than 3 billion cubic meters of natural gas was exported from Azerbaijan to EU member states, particularly Italy, Greece, and Bulgaria. And of course, the volume of natural gas to be exported to European market will grow. And also I'd like to add that Southern Gas Corridor is a project of energy security, and with EU, we for many years are chairing the Southern Gas Corridor Advisory Council. And under the leadership of EU and Azerbaijan, Advisory Council became also important factor of successful implementation of this project. 3,500 kilometers length integrated pipeline system and huge Chardonnays 2 gas fields development really is a unique experience of cooperation between countries and companies and international financial institutions. The total investments in Southern Gas Corridor project was more than 33 billion US dollars. At the same time, for many years, already for 15 years, Azerbaijan is a reliable crude oil supplier to European consumers. And now as a gas supplier, our potential, of course, will grow. And this will create more opportunities for us as exporter, for transitors, and for consumers, because gas from Azerbaijan is not only gas from the new route, but is a gas from the new source. And this makes this project really a project of energy security. We discussed with Mr. President today the issues related to connectivity. And in general, this issue always was on agenda between EU and Azerbaijan, especially after completion of the huge transportation infrastructure projects. And after the Second Karabakh War, there are new opportunities for opening of all communications in the region, as it was provided by a trilateral agreement of November 10th last year. So this issue was broadly discussed today, as well as other issues of post-conflict development in the region, because this created a new situation, this created new realities. Azerbaijan put an end to a long-lasting Armenian occupation of our territories. Azerbaijan itself implemented resolutions of UN Security Council demanding unconditional and full withdrawal of Armenian troops from our territories. And Azerbaijan put an end to war. Therefore, now it's time to think about peace and to turn the page. We are ready for that. And today, with Mr. President, we broadly discussed our plans, our initiatives, and our approaches to the newly emerged situation. And I think that demonstrating the goodwill and very pragmatic approach in a relatively short period of time, we can resolve most of the still remaining issues on the table, and to lay down a foundation for a broad regional cooperation in the region. EU plays, and I'm sure will play a very important role from this point of view, and the visit of Mr. President to 3 countries of the Southern Caucasus demonstrates European involvement, European agenda, and it is fully in line with our agenda. So our views coincide on this issue also. And of course, the post-conflict development with respect to connectivity issues, with respect to issues of reconstruction of the liberated territories will be always on agenda between us. So, Mr. President, once again, I'd like to express gratitude for your visit and express assurance that our strong partnership and cooperation will successfully continue. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. À mon tour, je souhaiterais vous remercier pour votre hospitalité, pour l'occasion qui nous est donnée de vous rencontrer. Et comme vous l'avez indiqué, nous avons pu avoir des échanges intenses, approfondis, sur la substance de la relation entre, d'une part, l'Union européenne et l'Azerbaïdjan. C'est le premier point qui a été abordé, parce que nous souhaitions avec vous regarder comment on peut donner un élan additionnel, un élan supplémentaire, et même donner une dimension davantage stratégique au partenariat entre l'Union européenne et l'Azerbaïdjan. Ce matin, j'ai eu l'occasion de visiter en Azerbaïdjan un certain nombre de projets tournés vers le futur, en matière d'innovation dans le secteur des satellites, en matière d'infrastructures également, pour donner au port de Bakou davantage d'ambition dans le développement, dans un cadre régional également. Et nous mesurons bien, nous l'avons évoqué ensemble d'ailleurs, que le partenariat entre l'Union européenne et l'Azerbaïdjan n'est pas principalement un partenariat fondé sur des questions de support financier en subside. C'est un partenariat fondé sur la volonté d'être engagés ensemble pour l'innovation dans le secteur technologique, pour les échanges en matière économique. Et c'est dans cet esprit-là que les deux priorités en termes de développement économique de l'Union européenne, la transformation climatique et la révolution digitale, peuvent être au cœur des projets que nous allons tenter ensemble, avec nos équipes respectives, de porter à bout de bras. Le deuxième sujet, c'est évidemment la préparation de ce sommet qui aura lieu en décembre, qui touche au partenariat oriental de l'Union européenne. Et c'était important pour nous d'échanger afin d'identifier les attentes que nous avions de part et d'autre en lien avec la préparation de ce sommet. Et vous avez raison, ma visite dans plusieurs pays membres du partenariat oriental est un signal. C'est le signal, c'est le message de l'implication de l'Union européenne dans cette région et dans notre volonté de soutenir cet engagement pour la sécurité, pour la stabilité, pour la prospérité dans la région, en mobilisant les moyens, les atouts, les capacités de l'Union européenne, en dialogue avec l'ensemble de nos partenaires et en prenant en considération les attentes différenciées des différents partenaires au sein du partenariat oriental. Et puis, le troisième point, vous l'avez évoqué, c'est la situation en lien avec la relation entre l'Azerbaïdjan et l'Arménie. Et je voudrais vous remercier parce qu'avant même cette visite, il y a plusieurs semaines, nous avons eu l'occasion de nous parler à plusieurs reprises par téléphone afin d'échanger quant à nos analyses sur la situation dans la région, et vous remercier aussi pour les engagements qui ont été pris et qui ont été honorés, qui sont des premiers pas en lien avec la question des cartographies pour les mines, d'une part, en lien avec la question des prisonniers, qui sont des sujets importants pour lesquels des premières étapes ont été franchies, et nous espérons que d'autres étapes puissent rapidement être franchies sur ce sujet-là. Nous avons eu l'occasion aussi, avec plus de substance, de regarder les sujets qui doivent faire l'objet d'une mobilisation pour tenter de dégager un certain nombre de solutions qui puissent être des solutions durables. Et je vous ai dit la disponibilité de l'Union européenne pour soutenir les efforts afin que des progrès puissent être réalisés sur différents sujets. Par exemple, la question de la délimitation des frontières, pour lesquelles nous sommes prêts de mobiliser de l'expertise européenne, de mobiliser du monitoring européen, le cas échéant, si c'était souhaité. La question aussi en lien avec la délimitation des frontières des troupes qui sont à proximité des zones disputées, qui est un sujet qui, je le suppose, doit faire l'objet de discussions également. Et puis il y a ce troisième point que vous avez abondamment mentionné, sur lequel nous retrouvons cette importance de la coopération régionale dans différents domaines. L'importance du secteur énergétique, vous l'avez mentionné, pour l'ensemble de la région et même au-delà. L'importance des infrastructures, notamment dans le secteur du transport et des différentes voies de transport. C'est un sujet qui a été abordé également, et sur ce sujet-là également, l'Union européenne veut être engagée pour encourager les efforts de coopération régionale. C'est un message que nous souhaitons porter vers l'ensemble des parties et des pays qui peuvent être mobilisés et associés sur le sujet. Et d'ailleurs, lorsque je serai ce soir et demain présent en Géorgie, c'est aussi un thème qui sera à l'ordre du jour de nos travaux et de nos réflexions en Géorgie. Et puis, nous pensons qu'une paix durable suppose que de bons accords puissent être pris et puissent être respectés. Et ça veut dire qu'il y a d'autres questions qui devront être aussi abordées tôt ou tard afin que cette paix durable puisse être une réalité dans l'intérêt de la stabilité, de la prospérité et de la sécurité. Enfin, nous avons eu l'occasion d'échanger sur un certain nombre de situations géopolitiques plus larges et de constater aussi un certain nombre de mobilisations de l'Azerbaïdjan, notamment en lien avec des thèmes comme par exemple le caractère séculier du pays, et nous avons pu faire les liens avec des débats qui ont lieu ailleurs dans le monde sur ce type de thème. Monsieur le Président, encore une fois, merci pour l'échange qui est intervenu. L'Union européenne est un projet politique qui défend des valeurs démocratiques, des valeurs de promotion des libertés, des droits de l'homme, mais c'est aussi un projet politique qui souhaite développer des partenariats solides avec un certain nombre d'acteurs afin de pouvoir dégager des projets dans l'intérêt mutuel. Merci pour cette occasion d'approfondir les liens entre votre pays et l'Union européenne.
Now we pass to questions. Please, first question is by Public TV Azerbaijan. Please.
My question is to Mr. Şarl Mişel. After the victory in the Second Karabakh War, Azerbaijan government publicly announced that it's ready to start negotiations on peace agreement with Armenia and the limitations of the borders of the two countries. Unfortunately, Armenia rejected this proposal. It means that Armenia doesn't want peace. My question is, did you discuss this issue with the Armenian government, and what can the European Union do to persuade Armenia to start negotiations on the peace agreement? Thank you.
I had indeed in-depth discussions with the Armenian authorities and with the Prime Minister in Armenia about the situation and the importance to work in order to make progress in the framework of a possible peace agreement. And I had the opportunity with him to be very concrete, to be very clear, and to identify what should be the elements that we need to take into consideration in order to provide more stability, more security in the region. And I had the opportunity also to give some messages to the President of Azerbaijan. And I informed the President of Azerbaijan, but also the Prime Minister of Armenia, that the European Union, we are ready to play a positive role, to play a constructive role as possible honest worker. Of course, we respect the role that is played and it is played by the Minsk group, but this doesn't mean that this is not possible for the European Union also to provide some expertise, some support, some ideas, and to encourage some possible improvements in order to provide more stability, more security, and to be certain that it will be possible to have a sustainable peace in the region.
Second question to DEAZ, Information Agency, Azerbaijan.
My question is to President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev. Your Excellency, after the Second Karabakh War, you spoke about opportunities of broad international cooperation in area of transportation. Azerbaijan created modern transportation infrastructure, and what role this and projects which Azerbaijan is implementing on liberated territories can play to strengthen regional stability and security? Thank you.
Opening of all communications is an important issue of post-conflict settlement, and it was reflected in a trilateral declaration signed by President of Russia, Prime Minister of Armenia, and myself on November 10th last year. And existing modern infrastructure in transportation will allow Azerbaijan to implement the projects on our territory in a relatively short period of time. Because today we already have a diversified transportation network. Azerbaijan is a country which doesn't have an access to open seas. It's a landlocked country, but despite, we managed to create one of the important transportation and logistical hubs in Eurasia. We managed, together with our neighbors, complete the construction of the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railroad, which was inaugurated in 2017, thus contributing largely to east-west transportation corridor. At the same time, we invested in Azerbaijan into creation of north-south transportation corridor, and I can tell you that already, just recently I was informed that the first cargoes from Finland to India was delivered through the territory of Azerbaijan, and definitely the volume of cargoes through Azerbaijan, whether it's east-west or north-south transportation corridor, will grow, because on bilateral level we established good contacts with all our immediate neighbors and countries of the region, and plus political, economic stability in Azerbaijan also helps us. Now we are in an active phase of creation of infrastructure on the liberated territories where everything is destroyed. 3 international airports to be built there. First in Füzuli will be operational by the end of this year. Second in Zengilan next year, and international airport in Lachin will be ready in 2023. Thus, number of international airports in Azerbaijan will be equal to 9. Also, we have the biggest in the Caspian region shipping fleet, which allows us to increase transportation of cargoes from east to west and backwards. We recently inaugurated the international trade seaport in Alat with a capacity of handling of 10 million tons, with potential increase to up to 25 million tons, which is one of the most important elements of our logistical and transportation network. And modern highways, by the way, by the assessment of Davos International World Economic Forum, the quality of roads in Azerbaijan ranks number 24 in the world, when the railroad service is number 11, airline services number 12. So this really demonstrates that we invested largely in infrastructure. And of course, opening of all communications in the region will allow Azerbaijan to have unimpeded access to its integral part, Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, through the territory of Armenia. At the same time, construction of the railroads towards Armenian border have started. Construction of highway towards Armenian border have started. on our territory, we need to build highways and railroads to Armenian territory of more than 100 kilometers. On Armenian territory, it's only 40-something kilometers, and all the communications, opening of communications in the region must be done in parallel. For Armenia, it creates opportunity to have railroad connection with Russia and with Iran. For Azerbaijan, it creates opportunity to have additional access to Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. And 4 countries of the region strongly support this approach: Azerbaijan, Iran, Russia, and Turkey. So we need to get a positive response from Armenia, but this response should not be selective. As I said, all communications must open at the same time, and there should be no discrimination in that respect. And definitely after that, predictability, stability, and security in the region will be already a reality. That's what we want.
Next question, Trend Information Agency, Azerbaijan, please.
Good afternoon. I have a question for Mr. Şarl Michel on the re-establishment of dictatorship regime in Armenia. There are mass arrests in Armenia, including detainees of political opponents. Even during the election campaign, Pashinyan was threatening his opponents with a hammer. He said he would crush his opponents, and detainees of political opposition continues today. Unfortunately, to this day, the European Union, OSCE, Council of Europe, and any non-governmental organizations dealing with human rights have given no reaction to these developments. So today, Armenia's dictatorship is a black stain on the map of the South Caucasus. Why isn't there any reaction to this? Thank you.
Il est exact que l'Union européenne a pour tradition de travailler en étroite coopération sur ces sujets avec l'OSCE, et plus particulièrement avec ODIHR, qui est une instance dans le cadre de l'OSCE. Et les rapports qui ont été établis par l'OSCE donnent des indications quant à la manière dont les élections ont été tenues dans ce pays en Arménie de manière acceptable sur le plan de l'équité et sur le plan de l'ouverture. C'est la raison pour laquelle nous avons félicité les autorités arméniennes à l'issue de ce processus électoral. Je voudrais profiter de l'occasion pour dire un mot sur la question de la connectivité qui a été abordée dans la question précédente, parce que ce point est effectivement un point très important. Et nous croyons aussi, au départ de l'Union européenne, que l'on doit encourager la connectivité dans le cadre d'un partenariat régional. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle j'ai eu l'occasion hier, avec les autorités arméniennes, aujourd'hui avec le président d'Azerbaïdjan, d'aborder dans le détail ces sujets-là, afin de bien comprendre les différents points de vue. Et j'ai l'impression qu'il y a des possibilités de convergence afin d'intensifier des capacités en termes d'infrastructures. Alors bien sûr, il y a de part et d'autre probablement des inquiétudes, des questions, des sujets qui doivent être clarifiés. C'est pour cela que nous voulons encourager le dialogue, la compréhension mutuelle, pas seulement avec l'Arménie, mais aussi avec d'autres pays qui sont potentiellement concernés par cette importance de soutenir les efforts pour plus de connectivité. C'est aussi un sujet que j'espère pouvoir aborder demain, par exemple, avec les autorités en Géorgie.
Next and last question, CBC TV, Azerbaijan, please.
My question is to President of Azerbaijan İlham Əliyev. Photos and video footages of destroyed cities and villages by Armenians in Karabakh are available in the media. And the construction has started in these territories, and several countries have been invited. What do you think can be attractive for foreign investors in this regard? Thank you.
The destruction on the liberated territories, as you said, is already broadly presented to international media, and also there have been several tours organized of international media representatives to liberated territories. And the media representatives could see with their own eyes the scope of this destruction, Also, ambassadors accredited in Azerbaijan and other diplomatic representatives several times made a visits to liberated territories. So everything is in front of their eyes. There's a total devastation and destruction. And this destruction was committed not during the First Karabakh War, but after, in between two wars, when Armenians deliberately demolished the cultural, religious, and historical heritage of Azerbaijani people on the occupied territories. Today, such a big city as Agdam does not exist. There's not a single building there. Fizuli does not exist. When we liberated Fizuli, we could not find any building in order to raise a flag on it. Jabrail is totally destroyed. Other cities were used by Armenians for illegal settlement, which is a war crime, and which was also proven by credible sources, and these illegal settlements also are seen. So we have a lot of things to do there. We need to reconstruct and rebuild and demine the territory of more than 10,000 square kilometers. And hundreds of thousands of land mines have been planted, and after war stopped, since November 10th until today, more than 140 casualties we had with respect to the mines, and injured people and killed people, including 2 journalists who were going by car, and the mines which were planted on that road were the mines planted after Second Karabakh War stopped, and Armenians had 2 weeks' time in order to leave the territories. Armenia committed other war crimes during the war. They were shelling our cities and villages with forbidden munitions like white phosphorus bombs, and which is a proven fact. They were using ballistic missiles like Scud, .U, Iskander M, in order to attack our cities and villages, and more than 100 civilians were killed as a result of these war crimes. So we are now facing a big challenge and a big task to demine the territories and to reconstruct, and we will do it because we already made all the necessary commitments and allocated the funds for it. As well as foreign investments are concerned, I think several areas can be attractive for foreigners. First, it's renewable energy sources, because the area is rich with a great potential. We already made initial calculations which show that there are potential of at least 5,000 megawatts of solar and 1,000 megawatts of wind energy production on the liberated territories. Another potential area of investment is agriculture and agriculture processing, because there's a very good land, and this can be very attractive for foreigners. And I think important area could be tourism, because despite the damage which Armenia caused on the liberated territories to our nature, just as one example, I can tell you that the area covered with forests on the liberated territories was 230,000 hectares, and now we have only 170,000 hectares left based on the information from our satellites. In other words, 60,000 hectares of forests have been demolished. Our lakes and rivers are polluted, and we already made an appeal to international organizations, and we will already started the legal procedure against the companies which illegally conducted economic activity on the liberated territories, damaging our nature, polluting our rivers, and illegally extracting gold and other precious metals. Tourism can be another area of attraction for foreign investments, because despite all this ecological damage, it's Karabakh and Eastern Zengezur is one of the most beautiful areas, not only of Azerbaijan, but of the region. And I hope that international investors, taking into account the very good investment climate in Azerbaijan, and I can refer to the assessment of the World Bank. World Bank's doing business program ranks Azerbaijan number 28 with respect to the business climate, and foreign investments are duly protected. So we hope that foreign companies will seriously address this issue. And by the way, I can tell you that already one company from Europe already signed a preliminary document with Azerbaijani government on the construction of 200 megawatt solar power station on the liberated territory. So it's a good beginning, and I'm sure there'll be more companies and more activity on the territories which Azerbaijan liberated as a result of the Second Karabakh War.
Joint press conference is over. Thank you very much.